Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're hopping into step 3. This is kind of the setup for the whole step. So I won't dilly-dally for long. Let's get into this. And on we go. One fine summer morning, you took in what had become a very special scene, the whole family having a meal together. Your big sister Liz hadn't lived at home full-time for a couple of years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here since it was an off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in town because you had now also graduated high school, so who knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future. You watched on as Liz laughed good naturedly over a comment Ma made. Her Elizabeth only mindset had only been a phase, nearly a nickname. It was welcome at this point in her life. Strangely, even though she'd moved away, you'd lately felt closer to her than you had in a long time. You idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absent-mindedly. Vegetarian, vegan, pescatarian, polytarian, picky eater. Generally ate whatever. Generally, I eat whatever. The meal you had reflected that. It included just about everything your moms had made, though you often made your own food nowadays. With Liz around, though, your parents made even more options than usual. Your sister had been vegetarian for a while, and they wanted to make sure she had choices too. The conversation had gone idly without you fully taking in the words until your ears were piqued when Ma started on of tone gossip. And so that's how I heard the news. All right, now stop burying the lead and tell us, what is the so-called news? Mom giggled as she cast a look across the table, satisfied she had everybody's attention. Well, it turns out the Donalds won't be renting out the condo up the street, as per Sunset Bird tradition, for the first time in what must be nearly 2 decades. A chorus of gasp and shocked expressions were all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows pinked. Ma may consider them by name, you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 who crossed their path. Your ma continued with the story, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did so. They decided not to take big trips anymore. Prince and family will be visiting them at their home. That's nice for them. Then have a good summer, mean grandparents with no grandkids, away from us. That's a relief. Kinda sad that they can't travel anymore. I hope they're still okay, even if they are mean. My thoughts exactly, Liz. Finally, they can piss off. You didn't have anything to comment on the development. I hope they're still okay, even if they are mean. They live a very full life. It's nothing to sneeze at. And you be nice, Liz. You don't want to end up like them, do you? You and your sister cracked a smile at the joke. At least they won't be here to yell at my children anymore. Lonnie. And that blunt comment got laughter from all three of you. Engrossed in conversation once more, you continued to chat with your family until the meal was over. Step 3, third time's the charm. As it went, once the food was eaten and cleaned up had to be done, Liz took the role of washing the dishes and passing them to you, drying for putting away. You had set up cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf of your cabinet. It was effortless to do. It was very tall. The task was pretty straightforward. You were tall. You had to stretch, but it was doable. You were ever tight. It was a struggle to get them up without stepping stool. You were short. Stepping stool was mandatory for you. You were very short. Very tall. That was that was simply your lot in life. You'd always been vertically gifted. You felt great about how your height was. You hope you might still grow more. You wish you would stop growing early. You didn't think much about that. You didn't even know what to think about it. Stop growing earlier. But those thoughts weren't anything new. You hadn't been content with your height for a long time. Giving my character body issues. Liz shook you out of your internal musings and by starting up an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that she had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You'd think after the first year or two I'd have handle on things, but no. You still glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. I guess it's only fair. My first round was pretty general classes, and year 1 of my architecture major was the basics. Now it feels serious. I have to actually know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed the plates held more force than necessary. I know you can handle it. I think it's really cool you want to be an architect. Doesn't sound that hard. You simply shrugged. You merely listened to her venting. I know you can handle it. How sweet of you to believe in me. Thanks. Your older sister's mouth quirked into a smile. It'll be fine one way or another.
Oh.
Oh, but I'm not trying to scare you away from college if that's even your plan. What's going on with that anyway? You had a solid plan set for a long time. You came to a firm conclusion recently. You had a general idea. You had absolutely no idea. You hadn't even let yourself think about too much. Firm conclusion recently. You answered the question as much as you were able to and willing to. Liz grew more reassuring as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You can make your ideas happen, I'm sure. Sometimes it still felt hard to believe public school experience was over. In the end, you had graduated top of your class, soared high with high marks. I already know. Going to miss it, you felt satisfied leaving it off there. You were just glad it was truly behind you. Yes. You'd achieved a lot, and you could take what you'd learned with moving forward. Liz picked up the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the
You're
topic.
a good kid.
You're doing good, kid, Ari. Do what's best for you, and we'll be here to back it up. Thanks, you're a good big sister. At that, Liz happily passed the final dish your way. She waved the soaked hand as a farewell and moved on to her next task, for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting a last piece put back where they belong. You eventually moved on to a new chore, but that was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. It was the default ringtone. You had used silly novelty ringtone. You had set one of your most beloved songs as your ringtone. The phone was set to vibrate. My phone, vibrate. You casually... Okay, everybody really has their own ringtone, but it's usually on vibrate. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday gift from your parents. Decided which model to get, but you got to pick the color. It was silver, black, gold, rose, gold, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, turquoise, black. It was just a phone. You didn't do anything to decorate. It had a special charm. Which was the crab keychain Cove bought when you were kids, a lantern based on the game Lake of Voices. Oh, I hope you know, Lake of Voices is one of their other games, and we will be playing that eventually. Probably when we finish this game. So, a small shell, a crystal, string of beads, a cat face, a music note, a heart. Knowing me, it would be the crab. You were pleased you'd finally prompted place to use the gift. The screen lit up, and you gave the little device a swipe with one finger. You were informed by caller ID that it was Lee. You weren't surprised. Despite having busier and busier lives, not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin of the same age. Especially once the miracle of both you having your own phones actually happened. She got hers first, though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar bubbly voice came through right after.
Hi.
Hey, Ari. Sup? I trust I'm not interrupting anything major. Only some cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. Distraction from that must have been desperately needed. Yes, thanks, my dear cousin. Hey, I love doing chores, you joked. I like cleaning, you pressed earnestly. It's good to hear from you. Even though she couldn't see it, you shook your head at that. It's good to hear from you. Right? She giggled, and you could hear the jangle of her jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. Woo! That's good. You were off from your part-time job today. You haven't started working anywhere. I started working not long after college. After I graduated. I graduated in June. I had my job in, I want to say, the end of September, beginning of October. Like you, Lee had started dipping her toes into the workforce as of late. It made keeping in touch frequently more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal. Cool, that's you then. So how's Mr. Cove Holden doing? There was a friendly sense of genuine curiosity in tone. She always thought well of him, but that name was incredibly familiar to your ears. Cove, next door neighbor, past decade at this point. In some ways, it felt like such an unbelievably long time to have known a person, but on the other hand, it felt like almost nothing. And it probably couldn't be helped being close in terms of house things didn't mean the two of you spent a ton of real time together, especially nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Been partying with the boy away, or is he back? No, Lee, he isn't here, just like he wasn't here yesterday or the last time you asked, or the time before that.
Sorry.
Ah, my bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, I want to visit soon, and he needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. For the past couple of months, and the last few weeks especially, Kove had been going to his mom's place in Nevada. Your mind began to drift back to the time all the prior trips he had taken to visit her. Almost every year he'd simply been gone a while, and then he'd be back. It wasn't something he minded or noticed much usually. That's how it was in the past, but lately he'd been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Cove hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plan was after graduation. This wasn't something the two of you had a real reason to chat about.
Well,
Ahem, maybe we should switch up to a non-Cove related topic? That works. The rest of the conversation rolled on, not much longer though. Lee had to go and you needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes, then you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came in. As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Want to get out of this tiny town and do some shopping in a real city? Yeah, it's been way too long since we've gone anywhere exciting. Good, I'm driving. It was obvious you didn't know how to drive. You were glad for that. You still hadn't your license permit. Even though you could drive too, it was her plan. She could do it if she wanted. I'm gonna let her do it. Go get your wallet. Anything else? We're going now. With a nod, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from your bedroom. You had money saved up from your part-time work you'd done, as well as your gift you received. After making sure both of you were fully prepared for the long haul, the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, the light conversation about shops to stop and the radio blasting. The trip breezed by, and what felt like no time, you'd gone from cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. Liz had her interests to check out and you yours. Your hobbies and skills were still the ones you developed when you had gotten to some new things when you'd grown up. You like to read. I like comic books, manga, and fiction mostly. And I like to watch TV, movies, stand-up comedies, and plays. Games were fun. You like to play board games, video games, and card games. You like to hang out with people. You like going to the beach and building sandcastles, swimming, looking for seashells, and surfing. You were into sports like boop. And I enjoyed music. I play guitar. And listened to a lot and spent time on art, drawing, and digitally usually. I don't care for paints or sculpting. I wrote. You enjoyed learning new things. You were into fashion. Let's see here. Shoes and clothes. And that was everything that came to mind. When turning the corner down the new length of the mall, your eyes caught on a little gift store. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating high school. You realized you wanted to get a graduation gift yourself to give Cove. They appreciated what you had gotten. We should get Cove something. Graduation may have already come and gone, but Cove wasn't really around anyway. You kept an eye out for something good, though you might have something nicer for him at home already. Eventually, the mall was explored in full, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, you decided to walk over some smaller nearby stores. Liz had many thoughts on that topic.
So?
Honestly, malls are not a bastion of society. Even if smaller stores require extra distance, the brands are so much more. Then your sister abruptly stopped speaking and walking right in the middle of the path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut off for a moment. Liz? The attempt to catch her attention was unnecessary. Someone else had all of her focus. But before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. Ari, don't draw attention, but look. What? Harsh whisper and subtle jerk of her head. She urged you once more.
Hey.
Look. You followed her gaze the best you could, a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path. You faced back over your sister with a confused expression and unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there? Ari, doesn't one of them seem familiar? She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked over the group again, and at this time you saw what she was seeing. Look at that man. Look at him. All the freckles. All the freckles. Amongst the collection was a strange, brown-haired, gray eyes and lots of freckles. That's Shiloh, our Shiloh from when we were kids. Girl, why are you just assuming that the first boy you see with similar features, a teenager, is him? Like, ma'am, I get you're excited, but that's not practical. Yep, that was definitely him. I can't believe it. He's honestly just there. That's hilarious. That's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We have to pull him away from those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Her mouth opened to reply, but she cut off with her own answer or question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shiloh, and we can act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know. Without a doubt, it's him. Ari, keep an eye out. See if he looks. Liz, you can't just try talking to him normally. Why are we doing that? It's terrible. Why do you have to be the one who watches? Let's try it. Fine. We know how to react. Let's ask her. Likely without even hearing what you said to Liz, her plan into action. Shiloh! She loudly projected the word across in the way, and then, by an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene while brushing the skirt of her dress. A supremely awkward moment. You'd only stand there as the tension in the area shifted to two of you thanks to your sister's shout. But of the many bystanders who became alerted to your presence, one of them was a boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. Ari, he looked. A wild grin overtook Liz's face. She pushed the rim of her sun hat up and away from her face, pushing back around to greet her old friend directly. Shiloh! Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet without really closing the gap. She wanted him to come to her. Who you presume to be Shiloh looked surprised at the call-out. He a quick glance at the crowd he was with, hesitantly glanced past your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze trained on him. Ultimately, he broke away from the rest of them. After a light-footed jog across the big path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of Liz and you.
Hi.
Hi, I like your hat. Just that simple greeting, Liz giggled.
Hey.
Hello, I'm not sure if you remember this, but I'm Liz. That's Ari. We were friends when we were little kids. The already wide eyes grew even larger. The gaze darted between you and Liz. His previous chipper demeanor faded into something delicate. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge. Still, Liz was undeterred. It was a long time ago. You were really young. I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positive I'm right. You're exactly the same. The face, the freckles, how gently you tried to phrase things, even still wearing a hat. Instinctively, he looked up at his headwear with creased brows, not making the connection on why his hat meant something to her. We knew each other, okay? The uneasy smile settled on him as silently following this speech, he was picking up his next words carefully, and then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice bursting into the conversation. Shiloh, what are you doing? The rest of the group already left. A field trip is not a vacation. We are on a schedule. Startled, you heard your head snapped towards the path, a distinctly unhappy individual with a piercing magenta eyes and dark brown skin with sharp jaw storming your way. He carried a cloud of authority with him, despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Shiloh, sorry, I didn't mean to ditch. Shiloh, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add the explanation of his absence. The stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized me as someone they knew. but it was a tiny misunderstanding. Liz theoretically as well, just as Lily put her foot down as she stopped, frustration getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion.
On.
We do know you. Slow merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was pained. Sorry. You honestly couldn't tell if he was apologizing for the upset feeling of his sister or the palpable dissatisfaction of his new acquaintance. In that in itself was very Shiloh-like. Oh, you know him, that's it? The stranger spoke in a dismissive, scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him. It was the most amusing, almost, but sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated itself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Shiloh's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you have any importance in his general day-to-day existence, it would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any trivial connections you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us, and you'll survive without him. Now stop loitering in the road. It's rude.
Excuse me?
Excuse me, we're the rude ones? The high-strung ranting got audible gasps from Shiloh, who finally started to speak up against in defense. Nate, that's really mean. It's also true, we're leaving. With that declaration, the unofficial introduced Nate, indignantly spun on his heels and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shiloh would follow behind him. Ah. Oh, people can sure have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try and get along? It's not hard. Don't worry, though. I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry I can't stay to talk to you, but I hope you have a really nice life. Bye. And that was it. His final parting words, given Shiloh, left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life he had to go live. Liz watched his exit, stunned only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone as quickly as he had appeared. It happened so fast, you hadn't even been able to get a word in. She sighed, and all the energy she built up, releasing with the breath. I would have told him his last name was Fields, his birthday was October 30th, and that would prove it, but no. I'm sorry, Liz. Wow, Shiloh grew up to be dumb. You were feeling equally deflated. Whoever Nate is sucks. Well, damn. You couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry, Liz. You felt so bad for your sister. He had been such a close friend in her early years, and their reunion was completely ruined. Why aren't you running after him? Liz merely shook her head, pushing off the childish thoughts. I think we can leave it there. Thanks. He's in the middle of a high school field trip, and it was already enough being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there enjoying his own part of the world. Though, if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. He laughed, but you couldn't tell there wasn't much humor to it. But she was mad at the guy, even if she was happy to let Shiloh go. Maybe they're only with each other because of that field trip. It's not usually how things are. True, we can only hope the same for him as he did for us. Have a nice life, Shiloh. Have a good life. Bye, Shiloh. We'll miss you. Good luck out there. You'll need it. Liz smiled at you, had the self-confidence you knew so well from her. Come on, kid. Let's finish our own trip. Yeah. No matter how either of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you simply had to accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing, and so it was time to return home. By the time you arrived back, the sun was already beginning to set. You arched your back and stretched your arms towards the ceiling. While it had been a good day, it had been enough activity to cover an entire week. Liz tried to hide a yawn behind her hands, and you were the only one feeling worn out. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like and subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back to see this whole where it's going. We got the DLC, we got the original content, and I love it, and I hope you do too. So I hope y'all had a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.